and coffee.
Yeah.
And I showed them if they started under 30 and they took that amount of money and started saving it in a 8.5%, 9% 401k that got matched, that they would be millionaires by the time they were 65. And this is people with the $30,000 to $40,000 a year range. And I hear this all the time. I don't know if you do. I don't have any money to invest. I don't have that. I can't do that. And the second thing that I did with them, that I made them do, is bring their bank statement and look at their bank statement and their ATM withdrawals and pick out all of the stuff that they really didn't need. Yeah. Back then, it was Redbox rentals, it was McDonald's, it was all of those things. But, you know, more often than not, they could find $300, $400 that they were just wasting. And then when you teach them about putting some money aside to liquidate debt, you know, just a little extra, apply it to one thing until it's paid off, then take that, apply it to the next thing until it's paid off, and then take that and apply it to the next thing. Next thing you know, not only did they save a tremendous amount of interest, but their monthly payments go down, which gives them the ability to increase their 401k or their other investment vehicles.
Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Money and You Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, and I'm the host of the show. And we are going to get ready today to talk about living financially free, which I know is that's one of the most Googled terms, and people really want this in their life. And my company for a long time has been called Limit Free Life because I was helping people to find careers and work that made them, gave them the ability to find opportunities using their skills and their strengths and to really do what they wanted to do with their life on their own terms. And, ultimately, I found that that is still the goal, but without a solid money foundation, it's a lot harder for that to really happen. So trying to educate, motivate, inspire people around the idea of money, and a lot of talk on this show about your relationship with money, because the better your relationship is with money, the more fun you're going to have with your money, and the more your money is going to work with you to support your financially free life. So I have somebody who's living a financially free life and has built that for himself. And we're going to talk today to a fabulous guest. So I'm going to introduce him right away. Joining us today is Dean Innes, managing partner at Your Best Life Now, an organization helping people to elevate finance, family, fitness, and faith to maximize their best life through coaching, community, and exclusive once-in-a-lifetime experiences. His unique background of business experience, law enforcement, martial arts training, and economic analysis give him a rare perspective that enables him to successfully guide entrepreneurs, CEOs, and other top executives to new heights. Dean, welcome.
Well, thank you, Michelle. First, I just want to take a time to thank you for your audience, because there's so many people out there that need to know what you're taking your time to give them. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I appreciate it. And I hope that they appreciate what you're doing as well, because you can Google whatever you want, but if there's not somebody there to give you guidance, it doesn't make a hill of beans. And we both know that it takes more than a hill of beans to live free financially.
Yes. And thank you for that. That was very kind. And I appreciate that. I do love doing this podcast, partly to bring information and spread it around, because people really don't get too much of an education around money in the world we live in, but also to meet people like you. This podcast has exposed me to such a great array of interesting guests, and I've learned so much doing it. So I'm really happy to have you on today. So do you want to give us a little background on your career?
Yeah, I grew up in Wyoming, and parents that worked very hard. I'm a baby boomer, so this was in the 60s, 70s. And, we grew up and we just had a good work ethic. My dad was from the Bronx. My mom was from Cheyenne. He joined the service to see the world and ended up in Wyoming. So there you go. But I grew up in Cheyenne, and Cheyenne's a very diverse, small community, but it's been there forever. The military's been there since the 1800s, and it was where the railroad crossed from the East Coast to the West Coast. So we had a diversity of races, religions, and culture in a very small town. But the one thing about it was that it was there wasn't a lot of wealth there. So everybody was middle class and worked hard for everything they had, and we all supported each other. And it didn't matter where you came from because everybody came from someplace different. So it was a unique experience for me. And I grew up working hard. I had my first job at 12 and started working the whole time, and got a full ride scholarship to the University of Wyoming in debate from a kid that used to stutter. It's just that my dad and my mom, whenever you had a problem, you had to face it right on. And so I decided to get on the speech team in high school and ended up getting a full ride debate scholarship. So got to travel, got to do some wonderful things, learned a lot about the economy and how things work, had a great education. And when I got out, I wanted to be in law enforcement in the FBI. Well, when I graduated from college in 1985, we had a real recession. I know Obama called the last one a Great Recession, but no clue. we had 11% unemployment, 13% inflation, and 17% mortgage rates. And the government had a hiring freeze, all of which people haven't seen in a long time. Yeah. So it was tough when I got out, and I wanted to be in the FBI, and they weren't hiring. So they said, go local law enforcement. The sheriff there was a retired special agent in charge, so it seemed like a good choice. I spent my first year, I went to the academy, did all that, graduated top of my class. Then I started working for about $15,000 a year and got shot at a couple of times. And I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so I ended up in banking with my degree in economics, went to work for a very large bank. And because I felt the need to serve my community, I ended up doing the law enforcement thing on weekends and at night as a reserve for free. So the money wasn't good enough when I did it full time. So what did I do? I did it for free. But, it was an amazing experience. I got to help my city, got to help a lot of people. And law enforcement gives you insight into a whole bunch of different types of people. Mm-hmm. And I'll always be grateful for that being exposed to me. Then I really immersed myself in lending, did that career for about 15 years. And what really changed my life and brought me to the subject matter of living free financially is my dad. He was a wonderful man. My mom, wonderful woman. They were typical Americans. He got out of the service, went to college. He became an architect planner, opened his own business. And him and my mom, he did fairly well. Him and my mom traveled and did some stuff and enjoyed life, but they were typical. They didn't put anything away for their future. They didn't plan. And my dad got cancer at 50. And we were about 21 years apart. So he fought a really strong battle, and he passed away at 57. Wow. And so my mother didn't have a lot. She didn't have any debt, but didn't have a lot. So I was just very lucky that I was able to help, and my brother was able to help take care of her and still do. But it really changed my life. It made me look at my life and say, people don't plan for what could happen. And I decided I didn't want my family to be left the way my dad left my mom. And so I started planning very early to have choice. And I think one of the things that you talked about in your podcast is, helping people find the best job for them and helping them have that limitless lifestyle because they love where they're at. Well, I took it a step further. I decided that I didn't want to be dead at desk, and I didn't want my family to ever want for anything if something did happen for me. So to me, it was a very organized change, and because of the martial arts that I studied all of my life and some of the other things I went through, I was very disciplined. So I set up strategies. I started with making sure my 401k was fully funded. All the stuff that we can do as Americans that are at our steps, and it's amazing to me because I'm an economist and I did research, and only 30% of the population participates in a 401k. And a lot of those employers not only provide it, but they match it. So you and I both know if you participate in it, you're not going to miss the money. And if they match it, you make 100% return on your money immediately, plus another 20 to 25% or 30%, depending on the tax bracket you're in, because you reduce your taxable income. So that's one thing I started to do. The next thing I did was, as I was making bonuses, I paid off everything. I became debt-free. And when you become debt-free, that changes your lifestyle, because then you don't have to worry about these huge bills coming in. You can start planning on what you're going to do. The key for me is I didn't change my lifestyle as my income grew. So I kept my lifestyle the same. And whenever I got a bonus, if I wasn't maxing my 401k, then I started investing in a tax-deferred annuity. And then I started looking at stocks, and I had some experience in investing. So I started investing in dividend stocks and in short-term stocks. And I played, I made little buckets, conservative, moderate, aggressive, and speculative buckets. And I took percentages, and I started doing that. And the funny thing is it wasn't a lot of money back then, but when I left the bank, I had $39,000 in my 401k. I have not added to that 401k, but I manage it. And today it's $305,000. Mm-hmm. Just that $39,000. And people don't realize small changes early on equal big changes in life. And then I decided to start investing. I got hired by a commissioned company, and I never thought I'd do that, but I transitioned from banking to a mortgage bank where they paid me commission. I quadrupled my income.
Wow.
So I didn't change my lifestyle, but it sure made a change in what I could do with my money. So then I started investing in a factoring company, and I know probably a lot of your people don't understand what factoring is, and I'll give a brief disclosure. Okay. Factoring is where there's a lot of subcontractors out there that get government contracts or contracts from big companies, and they don't have capital. And sometimes the government, I know this may seem strange, but the government doesn't pay on time. So if you don't have a lot of capital, you can't afford to pay your bills in a timely manner. So what we do is we'll buy those contracts from the subcontractor at a discount, and then we get paid directly from the government. And so that discount provides a margin or a return that we can then pay ourselves at. It has a couple of caveats. It's not that easy. You have to know who you're dealing with. They have to be really reputable. They have to finish their contracts. But if you have the relationships, it can grow your money quite well. Then I started doing some notes where I financed. I was really into mortgage banking to the point where I was on the board of directors for the Texas Mortgage Bankers Association and the National Mortgage Bankers Association. So I understood real estate really well. So I started doing some notes where I would finance real estate and get paid on notes. So I diversified into interest income. So already I have given you 4 or 5 different ways where I had passive income. And my strategy always was, when I turned 50, I wanted to have enough assets and passive income so that I wouldn't have to work. That didn't mean I wasn't going to work. It just meant I wouldn't have to. And luckily, with a little help, I was able to do that. And then I kept working, because to me, the best goal that you can have is not money. Money's a tool, and people that chase money are never happy. But money is a tool to have freedom and to have time and to have choice. And so I do a lot of coaching and consulting with executives and presidents of companies. And the one thing I make sure of is the people I coach and strategize with, they're after choice, not money. I can show people how to make money, but that won't give them happiness. And as you can see, the company that I most affiliate myself with, YBL, is all about your best life. And that's what we do. And that's what I believe in. And I have the luxury of not having to make a lot of money doing that. I do that because I really enjoy it. And I love working with people that want to do those types of things that we talked about. So that's a little bit of a little start.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And so many things came up. One, the starting early is so crucial, but it's such a hard one to get across to younger people. It was hard for people to get it across to me, but boy, the time factor is so in your favor when you're young. If you start embarking on this, that is one thing that I think kids have a little bit of an advantage of today because, in my day, it was harder to learn about what you could do. These days, everybody's learning finance from YouTube. So, and from some...
Not only sure it's a great place, but at least they have access. I mean, we can't teach it. I've been trying to teach financial literacy in the school system, and they won't let you. And I have a course that's approved by the Fed and everything else, and it's sad. But, when I ran a large mortgage bank and I had 85 employees, one of the things that I did to reach them is because when I saw that there was only 31% participation, I decided to make sure that I was going to change that. So I started teaching our employees with seminars. And one of the things that I told people was, hey, look, 3% of your paycheck will not result in a 3% reduction in your income because part of that you're going to have in tax savings. I said, but most Americans spend $50 to $60 a week on lunch and coffee.
Yeah.
And I showed them if they started under 30 and they took that amount of money and started saving it in a 8.5%, 9% 401k that got matched, that they would be millionaires by the time they were 65. And this is people with the $30,000 to $40,000 a year range. And I hear this all the time. I don't know if you do. I don't have any money to invest. I don't have that. I can't do that. And the second thing that I did with them, that I made them do, is bring their bank statement and look at their bank statement and their ATM withdrawals and pick out all of the stuff that they really didn't need. Yeah. Back then, it was Redbox rentals, it was McDonald's, it was all of those things. But, more often than not, they could find $300, $400 that they were just wasting. And then when you teach them about putting some money aside to liquidate debt, just a little extra, apply it to one thing until it's paid off, then take that. Apply it to the next thing until it's paid off, and then take that and apply it to the next thing. Next thing you know, not only did they save a tremendous amount of interest, but their monthly payments go down, which gives them the ability to increase their 401k or their other investment vehicles. So I used to give people those types of advice and structure so that they could see it, because I think what we run into a lot of is Americans, we can say that Americans are smarter now, but they're really not. I mean, the bottom line is the top 10% of income earners is what, $129,000 a year?
Interesting.
And when you have a family and a house payment with an average payment on a house of $280,000 to $300,000, and you have a car payment and you have a kid, all of a sudden that amount of money doesn't seem really large.
Right.
And the top 1%, what do they make? $457,000. And so, I mean, it's really, we hear a lot of people and we see a lot of people on TikTok and they all claim to be millionaires, but I know the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. And most people, when they retire, end up either having to work or having a much lower lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe that it's education, but also choice and discipline. It does take a little discipline.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, absolutely. The discipline is a huge, huge part of it. And I think it's hard for people to be very disciplined when they're a little confused about the whole topic anyway. So, it's simpler when it's other things. Maybe it's exercise or something. But when it comes to money, it feels like this big, vast world of things you're not understanding. And so, but to your point, discipline is huge, and it is starting early, getting in the habits, and that's another relationship kind of point. When you're in a good relationship, you usually do have some habits that kind of nurture or benefit that relationship in some way, and keeping that going is important, and being consistent is important. And unfortunately, money kind of, there's this weird, if I have the right job and the right education, that'll sort of just magically translate into money being generated and built, wealth being built. So we don't necessarily put together the parts the steps we have to take and the discipline around that. So I think that's a great point.
Well, and one of the things that I do teach is discipline, and I teach it in a way that's really associated with goals. And that everyone in America has dreams. And I hate the term dream, because dream is something that people never put something to. And we have 330 million dreamers, not just the ones that they talk about on TV. And so to me, I always say, it's not a dreamer that's going to be successful. It's a dreamer that can articulate the dreams, then put it on paper, then become accountable to those dreams, and then be disciplined. So there's a few steps to get there. And one of them, the discipline piece, I learned, like I told you, I've been in the martial arts for 40 plus years. I studied 5 different styles. I fought full contact karate for 10 years. Oh. And what I really learned is that I can punch to within an eighth of an inch of any target anywhere that I want. And everybody goes, oh, that's great. That's great. But it really isn't. It was a million punches. Mm-hmm. It didn't just happen. It was a million punches. It was practice. It was decision. It was desire and paying the price. Mm-hmm. And what happens to most Americans is they get to that goal setting and they go, okay, this year I'm going to do that. And the resolutions start, and I'm going to do this, and I want to do this. And then by the 18th of January or the 21st of January, it's gone.
Right.
And one of the tidbits I could pass along today, since we don't have forever and I could talk forever, one of the tidbits I could pass along today is something I learned when I studied discipline and the Navy SEALs look at. And this would be the most uncommon thing that you would think of from both the Navy SEALs and a martial artist. And it is called there's usually, I teach 9 steps of discipline, but the last one is forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And people never associate that with discipline. And I'll tell you why it's so important. In America, we have temptations, we have all of these things. And so when you're doing discipline, you remove temptations, you give yourself evaluation periods, you ask yourself 4 questions, you do all of these things, but we all trip up. And when we trip up, what happens to most Americans is they say, see, I knew I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I can't do it. I can't stay on the program. I can't do this. And what we teach people, and what is so critically important, is that's going to happen to everybody. Mm. But if you look in the mirror the next day and you say, you know what, I shouldn't have went to that restaurant and ate last night. I spent too much money, ate too many calories, and I shouldn't have done it. I know I can't stay. Instead of that, you say, you know what, I shouldn't have done it, but I'm not going to do it next week. What can I do better? I'm going to avoid driving by that restaurant that I love so much. I'm going to take a different route. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to be happy with the fact that I put it in my rear view mirror and I got back on my horse today. That forgiveness gives you the ability to let go, not beat yourself up, but get right back on so you can get your trajectory right. You and I know that nothing happens instantly. There's always course corrections. I teach 4 questions, right? What did I do right? First thing, always focus on positive. What did I do wrong? Look at the mistakes you made. What am I going to change? And I think most people stop there. I'm going to make a change. But the 4th question is the most important one, and that is, what do I anticipate is going to happen from that change? Mm-hmm. And what that forces you to do is look at the ramifications of the change. Look for some empirical backing. Did this work for something else? Where can I see it work so that your change is better? And then we have better course corrections. So not only can we forgive ourselves, but we make a better choice when we're looking for the next step. And it helps us get to the goal because, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is great. I love the frameworks you're providing because we need that. We can't just kind of go all over. And those 4 questions, those are great journal questions. I'm a big morning journaler, and those are terrific questions to ask yourself daily, really. As you were talking, I'm thinking of something that my daughter slipped up on that she was all upset about. And I'm like, oh, she needs to ask these questions every day.
Well, we forget that everybody fails, and it's an easy way to go if you have a support group that says, oh, it's okay. You know what? We love you as you are. That doesn't help you reach your dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. I keep seeing the dream behind my head, and I'm a little embarrassed now that I have that word up there. But anyway.
But like I said, dreams are the starting point. You have to have them.
Yeah,
I just think that too many people stop there. And that's what the problem is. And they lose their dreams because nobody helps them take the next step. Mm-hmm. We fail in school so many ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, financial literacy, we're focused on the wrong things. And now that I'm talking about the economy, I realize that this economy is changing so fast and our schools are so antiquated in what they're teaching.
That's right.
These schools were set up for employees.
Yes.
And see, I don't want employees going into the next generation. We need ambitious, free-thinking, creative people, and they can't be that unless we give them some deductive reasoning, unless we give them some structure on how to get to a dream, unless we give them some financial wherewithal. Those are the key things that we should be teaching, not the stuff we're teaching now. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And it's pretty frustrating because when we aren't teaching those things, and then you do go on social media and you see people, again, sort of just overnight becoming millionaires and whatever they're, it's really crazy. But yeah, it feels like you should just be able to do it without any sort of training or learning any skills, and it's just supposed to happen to you. But it's, I love what you're saying. There is, the world is changing so quickly anyway, every day. And it's really, everything's changing so quickly every day that the schools will probably never keep up at this point, but they really, we need to teach these things. We need to really help people to figure out, because it is a, we do live in the land of dreaming and goal setting and everything else. And there has to be that bridge. So, really interesting point. I was thinking of something else while you were talking as well. I don't think people necessarily know how to be disciplined either. I mean, if they go in the military or something, they're going to learn. But the general population, I think, and everything's sort of reduced down to, 5 steps to be a more disciplined person. But it really, you have to stumble and deal with all, the sort of the failures or whatever, and how to bounce back from that. And there's a lot of talk about all this stuff, but it's very surface level. It really doesn't get into the nitty gritty. And I can see it sort of ingrained in you because of the martial arts and other things that you've done in your life. But you really have to do some of those things to bake it in. It's not. You have
to stumble. I really believe that. I mean, there are lucky people. I'm not one of them. But there are some lucky people that I know that just, they wake up and they're genius and they could do this stuff. And I'm more like the normal guy. I had to go through some challenges. I had some real challenges when I was younger, and it made me stronger. But I learned from them so I could help others. And the beauty of what I get to do now is I had good mentors, and I really was able to, because of things that happened to me, articulate what steps not only work for me, but could be translated to others. And I think that's such that's why I thanked you for what you're doing, because just sharing moments like this, people can garner that it's not a quick fix, that it does take some action, but that the reward is there. One of the things I did, I was speaking in front of 450 people, and we were talking about discipline. And one thing, another tidbit that I could give you is I asked people in the audience who has discipline, and you would know that 60 or 70% of them raise their hand. I picked the 3 most put together women. And when I say that, I mean the makeup, and they looked dressy and they looked smart. And I brought them up to the stage that raised their hands, and they said, yeah, we have terrible discipline. We can't do anything. And I said, I said, how much time does it take you to get ready every morning? And all 3 of them said 45 minutes to an hour. And I said, you do that every morning? They said, well, with the exception of maybe Saturday. And I said, okay. I said, why do you do that? She said, because the way I look is something I'm comfortable with. I feel much better about myself. I do that. And I said, I've been teaching discipline for a long time, and that strikes me as what I teach.
Yeah.
And what she said was, yeah, I can do this here, but I can't do it anywhere else. And I said, you know what the key issue is for most people is connecting the dots from what they don't like to do to where it gets them. And when you connect the dots and you say, I don't like to do that, but I love it because it's going to get me here. It's just like, I don't like brushing on the makeup, or I don't like doing can you tell I had a mom and 2 older sisters and have been married for 26 years? I know what they do, right? They do all of those things, and they don't enjoy it, but they enjoy the result. Yeah. And so they connected the dot from not enjoying this to the result. And really, that's the key for discipline, right? Knowing that sometimes you get a blotch on your makeup and you got to start over, or knowing sometimes you run out of something and you're not looking exactly right, or you have to dye your hair. All of those things are components of discipline. They sound really superficial, but it's the same structure. It's just that when I decided after my dad died that I did not want my family to be there, I made the connection from what I was going to do for the next 20 years to the payoff. And every time I made a step, even if it was small, I took a moment and celebrated it.
Yeah, that's
because huge. If we don't celebrate those little things, we're not going to get to the big thing.
Yeah, and so many people are so hard on themselves. It's like, I mean, my son is one of them. I'll point out something, an accomplishment, but it's in his mind, it wasn't big enough to actually celebrate. It wasn't, it was just a milestone step to the real goal, so you don't get to celebrate until that. That's a big mistake that I think we've been brought up on.
Yeah, what we need to teach him is, hey, you don't have to have a party. Just take a moment and say, wow, that's one step closer.
Yeah.
That's one step closer. That's a celebration.
That applies so well to money too, because a lot of it is really tiny, little, small steps. And, it's remarkable where that will get you if you take them, especially if you take them early. But sometimes it doesn't feel like a big enough deal either. I mean, if you can only pay $20 towards your debt, you should be, but you might just think, where's that going to get me? It's only $20, but... So it's a mind game.
It is. You got to connect that dot, and it's all right here. And I teach strategic negotiations because I used to negotiate $150 million contracts. And in the first place you have to start when you're negotiating, you have to negotiate with yourself. I had to decide that I wanted to be better when I was doing the martial arts. And I had great instructors, but they didn't let me slide. It's like, that's not good enough. And, if I took it outside, it would look great. But in there, based on where I wanted to be and where they knew I should be, it wasn't good enough. So you have to have that balance, right, of pushing forward and acknowledging. And now, they did acknowledge there it would be the next belt, right? And you'd celebrate the belt. But you know what really killed me? And you're going to laugh. Everybody thinks a black belt is the thing, right? Oh, I got a black belt, karate. You know what my instructor did? In one of the styles, the first style, I got a black belt in. He said, congratulations. Now you're ready to learn. and that was one of the most impactful statements that I ever heard. It was like, I did all of this. And he said it not in a negative way. He said so positively, now you're ready to learn. Now your mind's open a little bit. Now you can understand things differently. Just like when we go to high school, to college, or when we get married and you've been married for a while, you have a different growing understanding. Mm-hmm. And celebrating all of those things, just knowing that it's a time for me to appreciate where I'm at, even if it's $20 a month. At the end of the year, that bill is less. I teach people credit cards. I said, if you're going to use credit cards, take a credit card, use it for everything that you buy. And if it has a good rewards, let's say it's 3% cash back, and you pay it off every month, that's $2,000. You pay zero interest. But at the end of the year, you have another $750 in your rewards. And if you use that, and you put it away for 10 years, that's going to equal $18,000.
Wow.
And that's just one way that you didn't have to pay for that you made money. And you do a little tweak on your car insurance. You do some investigation on your homeowner's insurance. And all of a sudden, now you don't have $720. You didn't change anything, but you got $3,000 a year. And you invest that in 10 years, $39,000. 20 years later, it's $308,000.
Yeah.
Those are little things that you can change without spending money, that just take a little bit of research, but a little bit of discipline. And all of a sudden, you can be like me, having several companies and not worried about it, because if I don't want to have them, I can sell them and retire.
Yeah. No, that is so great. All of this is fantastic. And I'm thinking too, with the discipline, one of the things that I found going from a corporate job to running my own business is that takes a lot of discipline just to manage your day and your time. It's a thing that I don't think enough people talk about when you're thinking about that transition. Things make a lot more sense when you go to the office and it's all laid out for you. But when you're home, like, woohoo, you don't necessarily buckle down. So what did you find, and how did you manage that? You're already disciplined, so it might be not.
Well, I'm all about systems, but I'll tell you, I coach businesses, as you're well aware of. But the one thing that we coach in, and you saw, it's faith, fitness, finance, and family. Discipline impacts all of those, right? Just like you said, finance, business, same thing. I teach three things in business. If you have your own business, you need alignment. Okay? You need simplicity, and you need foresight. And this applies to every business. I coach billionaires and I coach people with small businesses. And what you really need to understand is alignment means you know what your company wants to accomplish. You know what your talent and skill set are. You know what you want your customers to feel, what problem you're solving for them. It doesn't work unless everyone in your company is aligned with that. It doesn't work without every piece of your marketing aligned with that. It doesn't work without you believing it and doing it every day so that they can see it, believe it, and do it every day, right? The second thing is simplicity. When I go into businesses, I look at their business structure. When I tell people I started businesses, I start businesses as if I'm going to sell them. Whether I'm going to sell them or not is irrelevant, but I started as if I'm going to sell it, which means for every job in my business, I have a standard operating procedure. I have a job description, and I have skill sets that tell me what that person does, how they do it, how I train them, retrain them, evaluate them, and what their skill set is to do that job at the very highest level. That's number one. Number two, every piece that I can automate, and when I say automate, that's just simply what I told you, right? SOPs, skill sets, job descriptions, that's automated. That whole hiring process now is automated. There's very little variance. I get the same result. I get a high level of performance. That's simplicity, right? Automate things, take the variance out, have great systems. You wouldn't get that from an economist, right? But it's true, right? Systems are really important. And the last thing is foresight. Foresight requires some discipline too, because you have to look 2 years out and then 5 years out. And doesn't mean you're always right, but if you're doing that 80% of the time, you're going to be ahead of your competition. And that's really all you need to be in a small business, right? So you look at your product. How's my product going to fare over the next 24 months in the economy? Is it a luxury product? Is it this product? What's inflation going to do to me? What are interest rates going to be doing to me? And I'm thinking about that ahead of my competition. So I'm proactive, not reactive. Proactive entrepreneurs always succeed. Proactive investors always succeed. Proactive fitness people always succeed. They're not waiting for something to tell them. They're in the gym devising a new way to do a lap machine to get a better system out of it. That's what they do. So it's simple concepts that take you from the average to the above average, even if you're average.
Wow. Okay. This is so much more than I even expected. Thank you so much for that.
Sorry.
Amazing. No, it's been so good. And that was my next question. So if somebody's listening to you going, oh my gosh, that's a different person than me that's going to be proactive in the gym or whatever. I mean, you can start anytime, but yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm over 60. And let me ask you this. Do you think I have pretty high energy level?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know how I have high energy level? I work out twice a day.
Yeah.
And I work out twice a day. I used to love exercise, right? I used to love it. I don't love it anymore. Now it's a necessity because during my fighting and everything else, I have issues. I have arthritis. I have, problems with my lower back, my shoulders, but I have a really positive mindset. And back 30 years ago when they wanted to put me on Celebrex, I went, no, because my liver and my kidneys would be dead right now. So instead, I said, how can I do this? I started looking around and talking to people, and they said, really arthritis, you can't fight it per se, but you can modulate it. Movement keeps you from getting arthritis. And now I coach some of the top physicians, and they tell me about things like, curcumin and turmeric. That's a natural anti-inflammatory. So I'm always looking for something. What that tells you is that every normal person has access to the cell phone that has so much more information than just what we look for, the social media, the Facebook, the TikTok. No, it has access to everything. And you can find it. So challenge yourself every day just to do something for 10 minutes different than you did the day before. Whether it's a breathing exercise or lowering your stress level by doing something you enjoy. If it's reading or cooking or doing some exercise, do something every day to improve your life from where it is.
Yeah.
And that's something everyone can do. And what I try and teach are things that everyone can start with, and then they can build and celebrate and learn. And then rear view mirror when you trip up, because you will. I did many times. The reason why I'm such a good strategist is because I've screwed up so many times. I try and help people from not doing those same mistakes. And I try not to make the same mistake twice. That's the important thing about discipline. Forgiving yourself and remembering what got you there so you don't do it again.
Yeah. Wow, Dean, this has been so good. I just love listening to you, and you're, the energy, the positive mindset, the discipline. I mean, you put all those things together, and it's actually pretty hard not to succeed. So I think that's amazing for people to hear. And I loved what you were saying with respect to money too. Just these small steps and just having the right mindset and allowing yourself to start at any time, because that's another one where I hear all the time. Well, it's too late for me. I'm 50. I'm 60. Whatever. My opportunity for money is over. So all of this is.
If you have that attitude, it will be. Right?
That's right.
And usually when people are older, they can actually make some pretty big changes really quickly. I mean, one of the things that I look at with people that are retired that now are saying, do I need to work? Should I work? And the first thing I tell them is, do you want to? Mm-hmm. And then they say, well, I don't really want just any job. I say, well, what kind of job would you like? This is what you do, right, Michelle? What kind of job would you like? What would you do if you didn't get paid, but you could get paid? Mm-hmm. And they'll find something. And I said, why don't you just do that part-time? Just get out of the house, get your mindset rolling. And since you weren't doing anything with that money anyway, because you weren't making it, why don't you take half of it and start doing this? Whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
There's so many ways. And what normally happens, if you can help somebody make it past 2 years when it comes to these little financial strategies, mm-hmm. the difference in 2 years they see, they're motivated from then on. And that's that critical time frame. I listen to people all the time and they say, oh, discipline, it's been proven 26 weeks and you have that. And I'm like, no. I said, no, I still trip up and I still have to get back on it. And it's how you can see how you can connect the dots.
Yeah.
Right. From that thing that you didn't like to do to that thing that's really cool. Like, for somebody that's retired, hey, all you have to do is make enough money in the next 2 years so that you could go to the Bahamas for 10 days and not put it on a credit card. How nice would that be?
Pretty nice.
Yeah. And then they go, if I could do that, maybe I could do this. Then if they do it, their mind starts taking over and they start equipping themselves with those tools.
Yeah. Wow. Well, unfortunately, I actually have to let you go. I don't want to. But can you please tell people, I'm sure people are going to want to connect with you. How would one do that?
Well, of course, my website's there, yblnow.com. And I encourage people just to go through that website. You'll see some testimonials of people that have changed what they do. Now, that is significant, but if you want to reach out to me, my email address is dean@yblnow.com, and you can do that. I also have Dean Ennis is my Facebook page, and on Instagram it's DJ_crusade. I'm not really big on posting on social media, but my team has really gotten after me. So over the next 6 months, I'll be doing more. They say I could be doing more in public. And so I'm going to try that. And that's why I'm here with you, Michelle, because they seem to think that maybe I should do some more of this.
I agree. You're extremely fun to listen to and also full of amazing information. I mean, this has been a great conversation. So I'm going to have to check out, go move on here. But I just have loved talking to you. So thank you so much for taking your time and, really helping out our audience. And I mean, it was a wide array of topics, all of them super valuable. So
well, Michelle, thank you. And I'm sure you feel the same way. If we help one person, man, today was such a great success. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. Thank you for what you do. And I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. Boy, I'm inspired. So, yeah, I love that. That's another way to celebrate. I mean,
It is. It's great.
it's great. So,
Well,
okay. Well, thank
you very much.
Have a wonderful, I know you're going on a trip. Have a wonderful trip. And yeah, that sounds amazing. So, all right. And thank you, audience. Thank you, UBN Go, for broadcasting the show. And thank you, audience, for listening. Please, if you like the show, give us a 5-star rating and share the show with your friends. We'd love to build the listening base of the show. So thank you. And we will see you next week.